Yeah, it's been a long day. My voice is cracking up, so sorry about that. It's just 25 more minutes. It's okay. So just to start, how many of you have ever used Jenkins? Yep, quite a few. How many have used Jenkins to run Robot Framework tests? And how many used the Robot Framework Jenkins plugin? And how many of you have made a pull request to the Robot Framework Jenkins plugin? Yeah, thanks. What I wanted to highlight with this is that there's a huge difference between the amount of users and the amount of contributors. I mean, that's okay. That's open source. That's how it works. There's no obligation to make a pull request, or there's no obligation to make a bug report or a feature request just to use the tool. That's how open source works. The Robot Framework community is a huge community. In the Slack, there's a bit less than 33,000 users just in the Slack. There are some inactive users, some active users. Some have made 2 users because they've locked themselves out. But anyway, it's a huge community, and that's just Slack. In 2021, I took a screenshot of the general channel when it was a milestone that it had reached 11,111 users, and that was a milestone. And now it's triple the amount. In contrast, if we take the Robot Framework Jenkins plugin, Robot Framework Core, and then let's say the browser and Selenium library repositories, there's roughly around 500 contributors. And those are people who have made a pull request that has been merged. And it's including duplicates. Some people have made a pull request to more than one repository. It's including bot users, like Dependabot and whatever. And if we take into account the people who have made a bug report or a feature request or joined in the active communication and collaboration, let's throw in another 500. So altogether, there's about 1,000 users, let's say, in these 4 repositories, give or take. It's quite a few, but it's still a bit less than the 33,000. And what could the future look like if we had a few more active contributors? I'm trying to get you to join the 1,000 to make the life of the 500 easier, or even better, make you join the 500 people. But why would you? Why would you join the 500 people? I can think of numerous reasons, but for the purpose of this presentation, I'll narrow it down to just 3. First, you get experience. You get the experience with the chosen technologies, whether it's Python, Java, C# or whatever. You get experience with version control, with branching, handling pull requests, handling bug reports, and so on. You get experience. Second, it's something that you can actually put in your resume, in your CV. I've actually got a project or a job because I was a maintainer of an open source tool that the customer was using. And they liked it, so they hired me on the spot, basically. And third part is that it opens other possibilities. And once again, I'm a great example of that. And some of you may know me as the maintainer of the Robot Framework Jenkins plugin. That's what the questions. Some people may know me as the creator of the DuckOps comics. And those of you who don't know me, I'm Aleksi. I'm the maintainer of the Robot Framework Jenkins plugin and the creator of the DuckOps comics. Hi. But to explain how does contributing into open source open other possibilities, we have to rewind time a few years. And let's rewind, and we end up in early June 1991. And I was born. Some of you may think that this is completely irrelevant. You're right. Let's fast forward to 2015, and I joined Nokia. It's my first job in IT industry, and like everyone in Finland, at some point in their career, have worked in Nokia. So have I. And it was my first introduction to Robot Framework. I picked up Robot Framework then, and all these new scary technologies like Jenkins and version control and Bash and all this. I was still in school in Aalto, just about finished my bachelor's degree, not quite, but almost. And I was a trainee, and I worked there for a year. Then in 2016, I joined EFICode, and I just started my master's studies. It was April, summer holidays were coming, I was a student, I was poor, I didn't have a holiday, and I needed something to do during the summer. My current customer, or my customer back then, had a need for monitoring solution, but there was no readily available back then. A former colleague had started the InfluxDB plugin, but he had never finished it and never published it. So I took that, I finished it, I published it, and I was an open source developer, and I was as proud can be. But this has nothing to do with Robot Framework. So fast forward yet again a year, and the Robot Framework Jenkins plugin maintainer contacted my colleague saying, hey, I don't have time to do this anymore. Can you, as in can EFICode, take responsibility of the Robot Framework Jenkins plugin? To which my colleague said, sure, we can do that. And then he came to me and asked, since you have experience with Robot Framework and you have experience with Jenkins plugin development, do you want to take this plugin and work on it? And here I am. So it opens other possibilities. But now you know why, or how this came to my desk and why I'm talking to you today. How do we actually do the development? And how will you do the development if you get the next $1 million idea or €1 million idea to make the best tool or extension or library to Robot Framework? The first consideration that you have to keep in mind is how much time can you actually invest in the development process? Do you do it on your free time? Do you do it on company time? And does your company actually pay you to do just development, or is it something that you do in addition to all your other work? For me, I do it alongside my other tasks, so I do just mostly maintenance, and when there's like Robot Framework major releases, then of course we need to address those. But there's the active development and maintenance. Then the development happens in two forms, basically. There's pull requests and there's issues. People submit issues and then we work on them when we have time. And from my perspective, if a person submits, let's say, a bug report, first, let's assume that I have time immediately to work on that, which most probably is not the case. It takes a few days for me, or a few hours at least, to have a time to look at the ticket. I need to verify the bug first. Is it an actual bug? Maybe I need to confirm something with a reporter. How are you calling the plugin, and so on and so on. Then if the bug is actually a bug, I need to identify the root cause. What is causing this behavior? And after the bug has been verified and identified the root cause, I need to fix it, which takes some time. After the fix, I test it. If it works, then I merge it, and then I can make a release. For you, creating the bug report takes 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how well you want to describe your bug and steps to reproduce and so on. For me, it takes anything between 15 minutes to a few days, depending on the complexity and the severity of the issue. If you make a pull request, well, you do the verification, you do the root cause analysis, you do the fix, then you test it, and then you make the pull request. And then it comes to me. I look at your code, say, okay, this is fine, merge it and release it. Much faster for me, much longer for you. But this is something that if you're working on an open source project, you will have to face eventually. In addition to time, there are some other considerations. Some things that you might not even consider to be things yet. And that is, how does it behave with the Robot Framework? Which versions of Robot Framework are supported? If you now start a new library or new tool, probably the latest. But for example, the Jenkins plugin has been around for a while, and we still support Robot Framework 3. We're slowly dropping the support, sure, but it's still supported. And different tools, different libraries have different needs. For example, if there's a new syntax, like the newest addition is the grouped keywords. If you're making, for example, the Visual Studio Code syntax highlight, the robocode, we need to identify new syntax. And linter tool needs to understand what that means. If you're using a library that uses the listener API, if there's a new version for that, of course you need to take that into account as well. The Robot Framework Jenkins plugin only uses the output XML file, so all the changes to the output file, we need to worry about those. But in order to do any work, we actually need to know what we need to do. So we need the information from somewhere, and well, we get notified somehow. The best way that we've managed to do this is with the Robot Framework milestone tracker. So Pekka has done a nice job of tagging all the features that are in the scope of the next release. We take a look at those, see which features, which tickets affect our tool. So for example, in the jump from Robot Framework 3 to 4, test criticality was removed and the skip status was included. That is something that breaks the plugin completely, and we need to address that immediately. Then the next big change from at least the near past is the change for the timestamping. And that broke the plugin completely, and we had to address that. And if it's something that breaks the plugin immediately and just obliterates everything, that needs to be dealt immediately. If it's just a cosmetic issue, then it's not that big of a deal. We can deal with it later. But we can't just drop the support for the previous version, because that is the surest way to get the bug reports pouring in. The second channel is Slack. That has been mentioned at least in the very early on today. That Slack, and especially the development channel in Slack, there's discussions ongoing about the new features, and the roadmap channel with new features and all those. Those are great places to stay on track with the Robot Framework core and make sure that your tool is actually working with the new version of Robot Framework. And when we actually find an issue that breaks our plugin, well, first, we need to verify the impact. Like, does it actually break? Then we need to do the refactoring, fixing, adding features, whenever, test it again, merge it, and release it. And for example, with the Robot Framework 4, when test criticality was removed, and then when the timestamping, we knew already well beforehand that this release is coming. So I started to work on the new features and the support for the new version of Robot Framework well before that release was actually out, and we had the pull request ready and waiting for the new release. And once the official release was made, test it one last time with the actual release, and then make our release. So the Jenkins plugin was supporting the new version of Robot Framework within 8 hours, because that's how Jenkins Update Center works. So how about the future? The future looks pretty much like this. It's unfinished. This is a panel from the upcoming DocOps issue that will be ready eventually. But it's uncolored. It's crude inks. It's not finalized. There's no background. There's no colors. It's very, very incomplete. And this is what the future looks like, basically. You can see roughly what the future will look like, but it's not there yet. There's still work to do. And why would you? Why would you do the work? Well, as I explained in the very beginning, it's experience. It's something that you can put in your resume, and it opens other possibilities. And it's also a way to give something back to the community. If you're using the tool and you love using the tool, why not give something back to the community? It's a great community. It's huge and intimidating to jump into this huge community and start working on a library or a tool, but it's a friendly community. And even a student with zero experience can make it work, then you can make it work as well. And this is what the future could look like. If we have a few more active contributors, a few more careful eyes or watchful eyes looking at the release tracker, working on new tools. There's been discussions about new libraries and tools in the community day on Tuesday on topics that I didn't even realize were possible. There's limitless possibilities on how to extend Robot Framework, basically. So that is what the future could look like. And together we can shape the future of the Robot Framework ecosystem. Thanks.
Thank you, Aleksi. Questions? You want to throw it?
No.
Sorry.
Hi, I totally understand your point. It is a really nice way to give back for the community, to build different kind of things for Robot Framework, and I thank you for making them. Jenkins plugin is a really valuable thing. What is your best experience or feel that you have with the project?
Well, the best feeling is actually that when, for example, when I made the release for, I believe it was for Robot Framework 4 and something like that, and I started to receive bug reports that, hey, this is not supporting the new Robot Framework release, whatever. And then when they realized that it actually does support, they just haven't updated the plugin yet. And I can see that people are actually positively surprised that something is actually working before they have time to complain about it. For me, that's like, yes, I beat you to it. And it's very, very nice and very good feeling.
I do agree. It is a satisfying feeling to close issues.
More questions? The catch box is there. Anyone out there? You can throw it.
Thank you for presentation. And I just wanted to ask a question to the audience, maybe, not to you. How many of you have submitted any bug report or feature requests in any kind of project on GitHub? Can you raise your hand? Great. So my request to you is maybe you can try to look back, check this issue that you have submitted, and maybe that would be a nice idea to start there. So you can check if you can contribute on that issue that you just reported. That's my request. Thank you.
That's a great point.
And to add a bit to that, also if you are maintaining an open source tool, a library or a tool, whatever, then you know what kind of tickets you would like to receive. So when you make a ticket to another project, you know pretty much what the type of ticket they want to receive, and you get experience to make better tickets.
Do you get like passive-aggressive tickets?
Yes, and I try to limit my passive-aggressive responses to my friends in Slack before I actually respond to the ticket.
More questions? All right. Thank you, Aleksi. There's your game shirt.